everyone, and welcome to my Woman Who Inspires series. I am Sreshtha. I am director of the Self-Worth Leadership and Empowerment Consultancy. I am also a motivational speaker and a wholeness guide, which means I just help women to achieve their dreams, or if you have stopped dreaming, help you learn how to dream, or if you are stuck, I also help you get through with that as well. In this series, the purpose is to show women that our negative emotions or perceived negative emotions are really pushing us to a better place in our life. So in this series, I have a diverse group of women. And today, I am very, very happy to welcome Janelle Sam. Janelle is an entrepreneurial leader with over 20 years of delivering results. She is a fractional CEO management advisor with How to Manage. How to Manage is the leading, largest, biggest, and best provider of outside managing partner, chief operating officer, and chief financial officer services exclusively for the solo and small law firm market. Janelle is also an award-winning public speaker and a social media influencer. Welcome to the series, Janelle. How are you doing today?
Thank you for having me, Sreshtha. I am very good, and I'm so happy to be on here with you.
And remind me, where are you joining from?
I'm in Houston, Texas.
Right. So Janelle is originally from Trinidad, but would have moved to Houston a few years ago. So I'm sure she will share that as part of her story. So Janelle, I invite you now to share your emotional healing journey.
A few years ago. Okay, I'll take that. Let's take 25
We look young.
years.
We could get away with saying a few.
No, yeah, I've been in the U.S. For the past 25 years, but yes, born and raised in Trinidad. I left the U.S. I was not the U.S. I left Trinidad when I was 20, so did O levels, A levels. I mean, Trisha, you didn't say it, right? We were classmates.
Oh, yes.
Together. And we're still connected after so many decades and geographic moves. So that is amazing. But I migrated to the US when I was 20 and went to Baruch College and did my undergrad there, got a job, got married, moved to New Jersey. Actually, I moved to New Jersey first, got married. And I was with one person, together for 17 years. I was married 13. And it ended in a horrible divorce. During the marriage, when the market crashed back in 2008, I lost my job and couldn't find anything. And so decided at that time to, do the stay-at-home mom thing because childcare is very expensive in the US. It's ridiculous. It's like paying a mortgage. And I had two young children at the same time. So the choice of becoming a stay-at-home mom was kind of forced as opposed to, oh, this is what I wanted to do. Mm-hmm. Because economically, it made more sense. And during the marriage, I was everything for everyone else. I was mom. I was the volunteer in the community. I was homemaker. I was wife. I was something to everybody else, and I was last. I put myself last. I was not. There was a feeling of being selfish or guilt if I felt that I could do anything for myself, for me. That had nothing to do with my kids at the time, my husband, or anybody else. So I didn't. And when I got divorced, when it was happening, my ex was the one who wanted it. And it really devastated me. Mm-hmm. I was not prepared for that because I had no idea he'd wanted a divorce. Mm-hmm. And I was a stay-at-home mom for the past 6 years and hadn't been in the workplace for so long. And, it turned out to be one of the most defining periods of my life because I was severely depressed from it. Mm-hmm. But that event triggered something in me because the divorce was finalized, I kid you not. It was a series of 3 days and 3 milestone events. It was my 40th birthday. Right. The next day was the anniversary, the 13th wedding anniversary. And the next day, the divorce was finalized.
Wow.
And something about that made me, I made a decision. I said, I will not let this divorce be the defining year of turning 40. And I'm going to do something I've always wanted to do for myself. I don't care how selfish it is. I'm just going to do it for me. And that was when I took my first solo trip, my first solo vacation. I wasn't going to meet anybody. I was going where I knew nobody, where I decided I wanted to go to Paris. I always wanted to go to Paris because I liked baking at the time. And I always wanted to go and learn how to do like macarons, take an advanced baking class in Paris. And when I was married over the years, I always used to say like, oh, one day I'll do this. One day, maybe. Because that guilt of, that's something that's so selfish. It's not something I could ever do. I have kids. I got to worry about them. I got a husband. I can't leave him. You know, I got to come volunteer in the community. And I didn't.
Yeah.
And then I made the decision to do that. And I did. And I ended up not just going to Paris. I ended up going to, in that one trip, I went to Iceland, I went to Amsterdam, and I went to Paris all by myself, 10 days.
Wow.
It just so happened the custody agreement allowed for that because they were supposed to be with their dad for spring break. So I had the time and I didn't have the kids.
Okay.
And when I did it, Sreshtha, something happened. Something in me kind of cracked. And I thought to myself, what other limiting, self-limiting belief am I holding onto about what I can do? Because I always thought that, one, I shouldn't do it, couldn't do it, some sort of internalized self-limiting belief. And while I was doing that trip, like, you know, there were two fears. One, traveling alone would be so boring. Or, you know, how could I do that? Like, who goes on a vacation by themselves? Like, what am I going to do? Just eat by myself? Sreshtha, I was never alone.
Right.
When I traveled by myself, I became aware of how many other people travel alone. In fact, on that trip, I met a friend, and we're still friends today. Her name is Nellie, and she lived in San Francisco, and she was traveling by herself. We're still friends today. Everywhere I went, I met new people. Everywhere I went, I was never alone and made new connections. Many of those people I'm still in connection with today. And I realized I need to start testing some more boundaries. And then I was like, well, maybe I should go back to school.
Right.
Maybe I should go back to school. And I'm like, you know what? I'm not going to limit myself. I'm going to go back to school. I'm going to try to apply to one of the hardest schools to get into because what the heck? You know, what's the worst that could happen? And I played that out. And the worst that could happen is they say no. And I tried for another school. I got in. I applied to Cornell, got it. All right. It's one of the Ivy League universities, one of the, you know, hardest schools to get into. Oh, I got in. And, you know, it was just like one decision after the next that stemmed from this defining moment of a divorce. Because I was 40. I felt like I'm a woman in my 40s with kids. I'd been a stay-at-home mom. I had doubt about my sensuality as a woman or to be desired, my worth in the wider community, because, you know, because everything's focused on youth and young, and it's hard to not compare yourself to that. Feeling like I was a failure of some sorts because, you know, you get divorced. It's like, oh, well, if you can't, you know, you're discarded. It's usually on the woman that gets that hardest stigma than the man does. And so it's dealing with all of those like negative beliefs about others. And I have to challenge that and say, I don't care what anybody else thinks about who I am and what I can. I'm going to do me. Sreshtha, I started, like, this is where, like, I even started wearing red lipstick. I started taking care of myself. I started doing things where before I never thought if I focused too much time and energy on that, I was a bad person. And now I realize I can't put in anybody's cup if I don't put in mine first.
Exactly.
You know, so it led to one thing to the next. And I went back to school and then I graduated. Then I started a tech startup that uses machine learning. It's like a search algorithm thing. And now I'm like, you know, working as a fractional CEO with these attorneys. So my job is really to sit down and tell attorneys what to do to run their business. I tell them what to do. They don't tell me. I'm not an attorney, but I'll tell them, what are you doing? You're trying to grow your business. This is what you need to be doing.
Yes.
And I lend my business expertise to them. I feel value in what I'm doing now, a lot of which prior to being married wasn't really there. I mean, sort of. But I think I lost so much of me trying to be something for everybody else. So, you know, in a nutshell, that is really That's what my
Yeah, no,
story has
it's
been.
it's it's so powerful, and even the things you spoke about, having to be there for everyone else, which is a lot of women, we just naturally feel that we need to take care of everyone else, and we don't have any time for ourselves, especially when you have young children. You just kind of get lost in just being the best for them, and unfortunately sometimes we lose our own identity. And I love the fact that you spoke about, you recognize that you had limiting beliefs, whereas this divorce would have come to you and it was not something you're expecting. And if you ever, all of us, most of us have been in a relationship, and if that relationship were to end and you're not expecting it, you understand how badly you feel inside. Whether or not the relationship was a good one for you, it hurts like
Right.
crazy.
Yeah.
And but you recognize at that point in time, after having gone through this, that wait, you were holding these limiting beliefs within yourself, and you started doing all the things that you wanted to do, which is something I can relate to, not on the scale you're speaking, but the same for me. When I got divorced, things I wanted to do in the house for 10 years, I actually just did it in a year. And I was like, wait, so long I'm thinking
Yes.
about these things, and look how easily it came. And the fact that you then decided to push your own limits and figure out, well, what else can I do? And to apply to Ivy League schools and get in.
Just cause.
And it's such a powerful story of what a woman can do and can be if she only releases all the limiting beliefs around her. I love too that you spoke about taking care of yourself and being okay with taking care of yourself, because sometimes we feel that if we go to the spa or if we dress up, that we are doing, I don't know how, but it's other people's imaginary strike, but somehow we're doing somebody some disservice. But if, as you said, you fill your cup first, you realize how much more you can give of what you want to give. It is such a powerful story. I am so grateful that you are here to share it. And I want to ask you, that period that you went through, are you grateful for that experience? And if yes, why?
Now I am. If you asked me that while I was going through that, no, because it was horrific. And I think of that as, we always say, we use this phrase, the tapestry of life.
Mm-hmm.
And on one side of a tapestry, it's like a big old mess, right? And it's not until it's done and you flip it over, you see this beautiful image that was being built and being created. And back when I was going through it, all I could see was the mess. All I could feel was the pain. I couldn't see any benefit of a family being torn apart, lives being changed, resources just being lost and spent on attorneys. And it back then, no. But today, I look back and I realize, as painful as that was, it was a good thing. Because just as you said, right, it took you 10 years, you wanted to do something, and then it took you less than a year on your own to do it. And I look at, I compare myself to where I was with one person for 17 years, and one of my passions was traveling. And I gave up so much of myself that I wasn't able to do as much of it because there was always some reason why not.
Yeah.
And so my divorce has been finalized 5 years now.
Mm-hmm.
Even though it was like a 2-year process. So in the last 5 years, I have been to more countries than I've been in the last 17 years with one person.
Wow.
In the last 5 years, I've been able to develop and grow as an individual, increasing the value that I have, not just to my kids, but to the community, because now I'm able to pour back into myself than I did 17 years with one person. What came out of that marriage of my beautiful daughters? They're so amazing. They're so smart, so smart. I can't even go on like how much they are. And that was beautiful that came out of the marriage. But what I also learned is it's so important as women to be with partners who are supportive of you, who encourage you to remain and invest in who you were before they met you, and not expecting you to fit around who they are and what they want, thinking, well, this is best for the family. And because of that, I now have these standards that are just non-negotiables for me. because it's so important for me to remain at this level that I am. So I'm always able to give my best and help. I love lifting people up. I volunteer as well with this program where I coach first generation college students. And it is something that, like, I think about how I volunteer and how I give back now and the impact I'm able to have, because I decided to go to Paris. I decided to go back to school. Because I decided to go back to school, I know what the process is in trying to get into an Ivy League university and navigating school and work and family and trying to do all of that, that I could sit down now with this young gentleman who was in community college and wants to be an attorney, and for me to guide him and coach him into going from community college to Columbia University, which, if you're not familiar with the US system, community college is like, I don't know if there's even junior sec and that anymore, right? But it's kind of like going from junior sec to QRC, right? So it's that big of a leap in terms of universities. And now he has a full scholarship. His life has been changed. But I would not have been able to do that if I didn't go through my own experiences.
Yeah, well, I mean, you really just epitomize what the series is about, because you speak about while you were going through it. Of course, it was one of the worst things you had to go through. And this is what we as women, when we're going through, we really can't see what is going to happen. But it is important to sit in your feelings and let your feelings process themselves. And I remember, because we have a chat, I remember Janelle saying, one day you will know when you have cried all your tears. And I'm actually going to share, she has a TikTok video that went viral over, tell me how much views you got? Just remind me.
1.8 million views.
1.8 million views. I'm going to share that video. You have to see it. I'm going to play it at the end, so you don't want to miss that video. You can also follow her on TikTok. But just to get back to what I was saying, you speak about how when you were in it, you really can't tell, and nobody could tell what is going to happen. But once you let the feelings flow and you sit down and you process that, and then you decide, okay, I'm going to do this for myself, that for myself, counterintuitively, you are actually able to give back so much more and grow so much as a person that you could tell from how she speaks, how excited she is about life and what she has to give. And I'm really grateful again to you, Janelle, for coming and sharing your story with us. And I just want to ask you one last question. What would you tell your younger self?
Oh my goodness. I think about that question because I feel like it's such a complicated question. Would I tell my younger self to do anything differently? If I do that, then would I end up where I am today? Mm-hmm. Which is why it's hard, right?
Yes.
But if I did, have to say something to my younger self, I would go and speak to myself when I was 18, mm-hmm. to not let go of who I am as a person, to be liked by anybody else, to stay true, because who I was when I was 18 disappeared for many years.
Right.
And and when I say disappeared, you're not 18, you're still young, but there's a core part of your personality and joy and approach to life, which, I think she's come back now, right? She's here now. I think my friends and Trinidad, now you see this kind of crazy life that I had back then, I have it again now. I didn't have it 10 years ago. That was lost. A lot of that was lost. And so for my younger self, and for anybody, especially women growing up, and I tell this to my daughter, she's 16, and I told her this: hold on to who you are. You're protected with everything that you are, because that is something nobody can take from you. You have to give it away. Do not give it away. Do not give it away, because it is so important. Hold on to your friendships, your girl friendships. Hold on to that community. Don't willingly give it up, because if somebody is asking you to give that up, you will end up being a shadow of who you were meant to be.
That I love that, and I could completely relate it, because I had the same exact feeling. I started to remember who I was like when we were in school and the dreams and stuff that I had. So again, I just want to really thank you from the bottom of my heart. You are such an amazing, wonderful person. I am so even proud of you as a classmate, to see where you have grown and who you have become, really just making our alma mater so proud. So thanks again to my audience. Thank you so much for watching. I'm going to show Janelle's video now, and I will see you guys tomorrow. Bye.
What do you do when a person hijacks your ambition, cancels your contract, denies your application, steals your money, ambushes your potential, spits on your dream? I'm going to tell you what you do. You cry about it. Because that's what you do. That's human. You cry. You got feelings. You cry long and hard. But when you stop crying, because you will, and the tears stop flowing because they will, you're going to get some backbone about yourself. You're going to stand up, get in your power, make the decision not to cry about that same person, that same situation, that same circumstance again. You ain't going to let them do that to you twice, are you? No, you ain't gonna let them do it to you twice. They got away with it the first time. Yeah, because you were still learning, right? But you learned from it. You got the point, right? You got the lesson? Yeah, you better for it anyway. Right?